Hi, Homeworthy. It's Jenny Wolf. Welcome to my home and shop, the Huntress, New York. Welcome in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Jenny Wolf, and I'm an interior designer here in Pound Ridge, New York. I'm also based in New York City, and I focus on residential and commercial design. So I always wanted my own retail store. I was looking for a space to have it, or actually a town. And it was a day probably much like today, a little cold and wintry, and just got out in the car, drove to Bedford, actually, and was looking through the village at buildings, and nothing was really speaking to me. So I drove a little bit further up, and I backed up into this parking lot and got out of the car and saw this building, and I was like, this is it. So I had the realtor at the building probably within 30 minutes of entering into the parking lot. And I just knew at that moment that this was the place where I was going to have my store. I had no idea where I was, didn't even know that a town named Pound Ridge even existed. I'm from South Carolina, and I'd never even been to Westchester County. So it's kind of serendipitous how this all came about. And I actually purchased the building in 2017 and embarked on a 2-year restoration renovation project here and opened the store in 2018. So we've been in business for about 5 years. This is the flagship for the Huntress, New York, but we also have other locations, and it's been a dream come true. The building here was the town grocery store. And when I took it over, it had been a dilapidated deli. It had about 12 layers of linoleum floor that needed to be removed. So this was a huge project, maybe one of the largest in my career, which is saying a lot because we build homes from the ground up. But it's quite different when you take it on as your own. And so we started in 2017 and finished in 2019. I always tell people, I'm like, everything in this building is new except for the front 2 windows and some of the joists. We actually took out all of the sheetrock, gutted it to the studs. It was a very large project. So everything you're seeing here today is new, really to look old. That was actually kind of a really fun process for me. I like linking the past to the present, and I think this building really speaks to that aesthetic. We're entering the private apartment of the Huntress, and this is a very beautiful space. When I took over the building, it was not so beautiful. It was chopped up into many rooms, and I really just wanted one large space where I could entertain guests and fellow Huntresses. So the idea behind designing it was that we would be able to host large groups here and do, workshops and nice dinner parties. We actually finished the upstairs of the building first when we did the renovation, and the reason for that is that I wanted to spend time here while I was creating the concept for the Huntress and finishing up the store below. So I was living up here, and I really got to feel out the space, and I probably painted this room like 3 times before we landed on this beautiful Pharaoh and ball color called denims, which is one of my favorites. But like I said, this was not this big room. This whole upstairs was chopped to bits. I mean, it was several different rooms. And we took the ceiling out to expose the joists, and that really just gave it the volume that it needed. But there were tricky angles in this building. I mean, this building is, over 100 years old. So if you can imagine, I had a lot of challenges to work with, and I think we spent probably 3 hours just trying to figure out how to transition these walls as we built up the ceiling from what it was before. So here is where we have some of our dinner parties. I've kind of just set it up today for, hosting guests kind of give you an idea of what it might look like on any given event day with beautiful floral. You know, the Huntress is really focused on floral. We have an amazing floral partner here in the shop, and it really just brings all the energy and magic, I feel, to what we're trying to do here. These chairs have kind of followed me for many years. I love just collecting antiques and repurposing them and doing them in fun new patterns. So this one is a classic cloth check that we've used throughout the store. We sell pillows and really love checks for table linens and kind of mixing kind of a country look with some kind of French looking antiques. The Janori is our favorite pattern, I would say, for the table setting, and we sell all of these dishes in our shop. And just a little throwback to New England, we love a Windsor chair, and these are also one of our most coveted items here at the Huntress. Here is this gorgeous fireplace, which just creates a little bit of a mood. It's not real. I do this often because I like to kind of create a center point in a room. And so this one actually was a leftover from an old show house that we did in Southport, Connecticut that we repurposed. But it's kind of fun because you can create something like this and then move it from space to space throughout. I think it's actually been in a Manhattan apartment at one point in time, and just kind of gives a little bit of a focal point to the room and creates a little bit of cozy. The piece de resistance that has not always been in this space, it's actually just entered, is this old vintage sofa that is in this quilted floral print. We like to say at the Huntress, perfectly imperfect. So you can see it's a little tattered and torn. It actually belonged to my great-grandparents and lived in their apartment at the St. Regis, and then moved to South Carolina for, I don't know, 50 years, and now has ended back up in New York. So I love the storytelling aspect behind it. And I just like the fact that it brings in this kind of old world feel, along with my trusted portraits that have also kind of had many different lives. I had done a room for the Brunswick showroom in New York City, and had found these this couple's portraits at the Doyle auction house, and had brought them in for that display, and I fell in love with them. And at the end of that installation, I was like, I'm taking these home. They belong to me. So that's how they landed here. I love, oil paintings, and I think that they really bring this kind of sense of nostalgia, which I'm always looking for. And of course, we have our stag head here, which is kind of the Huntress ambassador. Beautiful chairs here in this Ralph Lauren plaid. These were actually in an apartment that I had in Brooklyn, and ended up reupholstering them, and they're just really nice and cozy, and I think add a nice warm element to the room. The Huntress is kind of famous for selling a beautiful array of coffee table books. So I have here my own personal collection. I happen to love books. I think they make great gifts. I also think that, they're just such a wide source of inspiration. And, when I come here, when I'm trying to get away from the city and relax, I like to just kind of hole up my cozy nest here and thumb through the pages of some of these books and, get ideas for future projects. So believe it or not, we've hosted a wide array of events here in this space, anywhere from moon ceremonies to sound bath healings. We've done floral workshops with famous editors, and also just really private dinners. I've hosted my family here, so it's a very unique, flexible space. And, there are times where we pull all the furniture out and we bring new tables in. So it's kind of seen many different iterations. It's always evolving and changing. I think at one point during COVID, it was my office space. So it's really just been a great place to kind of come together, create and manifest. Lighting is very critical to a room, and fortunately this room has 4 of the original windows that were in the space, and it gives off a lot of natural light, which I love. But we did end up adding all of these gorgeous pendants. They're quite industrial in nature, and I just like that they give a little bit of modernity to the space. But also some ambient lighting that we've kind of sprinkled throughout. This is actually one of my favorite antique finds. You can note the arrow right here, which is the Huntress logo. We have a saying, follow your arrow. So that's like following your inner compass. We also have on our sconces over here a similar motif with the arrows. And then this gorgeous lamp from Penny Morrison that we sell down in the shop. And we paired it back with a black string shade, which is kind of a Huntress classic. I use these, even throughout my Jenny Wolfe interiors design projects. I just think they add, can really spruce up an old lamp and make it look new and fresh again. So this cabinet here has followed me for the last 15 years. It was in my Tribeca apartment in the city. And I've actually probably repainted it 3 to 4 times. So I think I purchased it at ABC Carpet, and it was a antique white cabinet, and since has been painted black. So I actually had the decorative painter paint the interior of it, this beautiful Farrow and Ball stone ground, which is a lovely pink color. And, it hosts the bar and all of my china, and it's really just a great piece. Oftentimes I have my young 3 girls here staying with me for the little itty bitty. She's got her own little piano, and I found this gorgeous antique chair. I think it's hundreds of years old at the Stanford Antique Mart here nearby. And this beautiful cabinet I also has found its way upstairs. It was in the store, but it was so beautiful I had to take it as my own. But just really beautiful French details, and I love this piece. It's hard for me to really describe what my style is. I always say that you buy what you love and you try to find a way to make it work. My eye is generally attracted to, antiques from the past. Right now I'm sitting on my grandmother's sofa. I love items that I can look at and that really have a soul and kind of speak, volumes of the past and how that links to the present moment. That being said, I love mixing old with new. So when we venture into the store, you're going to see a lot of that juxtaposition of more traditional with some more contemporary elements, which I think gives it kind of a fresh and new, exciting look. So now I'm going to take you to the kitchen. It's a small little kitchen here, but it's got a lot of power. I'm not much of a cook, but I knew I wanted 2 things in this kitchen. I wanted this beautiful House of Hackney floral wallpaper, and I wanted a checkerboard painted floor. So that's really where we started. And everything else just kind of found its way in coordinating with those 2 elements. We opted, instead of having a traditional backsplash throughout, doing this beautiful kind of like shiplap, these custom designed shelves. And then I love this clay tile that we used as the backsplash for the oven. This is, it just has a really nice irregularity to it. And what we decided to do was not to grout it, which I think is an interesting choice, but it gives it this really nice hand quality and old world feel. The cabinetry is painted in Farrow and Ball pigeon. And we did a gorgeous soapstone countertop, which has been, really standed the test of time. And I think I always say every room needs a little bit of black. That's one of my rules. And I think that kind of gives this room the edge, kind of cuts the sweetness out of it. And, with small kitchen comes small appliances. So I happen to love these old vintage Smeg. So that was a fun one. The Bertazzoni stove in black, because I do love a little bit of black in every space. Paired with this vintage light from Robert Ogden, who's also one of our vendors that we carry in the store. Really bespoke, and it's got this beautiful faceted milk glass, which I love. The place that we're sitting in right now is actually, this room was not here when I first inherited the building, and it's kind of evolved over time, but we basically took the ceiling out and made it a double height room. And it's quite large, and what's great about it is we host a number of parties and workshops, and it's a really flexible space. Sometimes we design it like a living room. Sometimes it's a long dining table where we're, hosting groups of women, making beautiful bouquets. So it's just been a really great space that's flexible, warm, and inviting, and I think, the color of it is just quite magnificent. It's a soothing space and just, a really beautiful surprise as you walk up the stairs from the store. So this is one of the guest rooms at the Huntress apartment, and it's painted in this gorgeous kind of deep greeny gray Benjamin Moore color called Gray Gardens. And we opted, like in most rooms in this apartment, you'll see that all the ceilings are painted the same color as the walls, which really kind of creates these cozy environments to kind of nest in. And, I love a check. And again, we have our beautiful stag head and Apollo chair and a beautiful window pane plaid. This is one of our Huntress core pieces. So just a really nice little reading nook. Before we make our way to the main apartment, I'd like to show you some of the hallways and some of the art that I've curated over time. So this set of 6 intaglios that are framed, I found these at different markets throughout the south of France, and they're really special to me. So this is kind of an interesting thing that anyone can do. But I took them to the framer with this gorgeous rose-colored Belgian linen, and we were able to frame them. And I just love the way they've turned out. And I think when you buy art that you love or create, you're always going to find a special place for it. So follow me this way. I can show you more of my collected art. The private apartment, or the house of Huntress, house of the Huntress. So this is my living quarters. And my favorite wall of fame is some of these gorgeous hand sketches that I've collected from all over the world and framed in vintage frames. And they're set against this beautiful Farrow & Ball setting plaster paint backdrop. And, these are just great because they look great hung as a collage, or you can hang them individually. I've really had a lot of fun with them. And of course, wouldn't be the Huntress's home without a lot of hats. So this is where we hang our hat at the end of the day. Moving into one of my most favorite spaces that I designed for my sweet little girls. This room gave me a lot of challenges, again, with the odd transitions from the walls to the ceiling. So when I found this gorgeous hand-painted wallpaper from Studio 4 in Manhattan, I just fell in love with it and couldn't imagine doing anything else here. Nothing was as perfect as it was for my little ladies, and we just decided to wrap it around the ceiling, and I think it gives a really nice effect. And of course, we added a little black with these Jenny Lynn twin beds, and I just love the sconces that we did above them with these little Fermoy shades, which we actually sell in the shop as well. It's just like a really sweet room for the little girls, and I just, feel like it is a great space for them to play in. And, there's a lot of closet space. I love the pink check bedding in this room. It's actually from IKEA, which is a great little trade secret. The pillows were custom Sister Parish, and these sweet little bunnies, which I love, and my girls collect. And we have their little collection of Maylig bunnies and little mice, and it's kind of a little fun place for them to play. So this nightstand is actually a bar cart from Serena and Lily, and I just happen to love it. It served many purposes for me throughout my life as a designer. I think it was an actual bar cart at one of my homes, but now it just has made a really lovely nightstand in the girls' room, and I love that it brings in this natural texture, and it also serves as a nice little place for them to play with their little collection of Maylig bunnies and mice. When designing children's bedrooms, you do want to design a space that will grow with them. And there was something about this paper, I would have put it even in my own room, and also not being too precious about certain things. I had brought this one antique mirror. I actually practically carried it on my back from the flea markets in Paris to try to get it back to the US. But someone might feel like, I wouldn't want to put that in a children's bedroom, but I think it gives an element of sophistication and kind of, sets a nice tone for the room. So I think finding art for kids' rooms can sometimes be a challenge. And so what I did here was, this was actually a piece that was in a more formal space in my home. But I love the playfulness, and the color palette really worked with the paper. This is my daughter's birth announcement, which I had framed in a gilded old antique frame. And I thought, how beautiful would that be to just make a collage wall and kind of not be too serious about it. Obviously with this fun little unicorn head that kind of gives it a playfulness. It's all about the little Huntress in this room. So while mom is sipping her tea, the daughters are also having their own little tea parties. So moving on to my bedroom, which did not start off this way, I can tell you that. Another one of the rooms where we decided to take the ceiling out, which I think was the wisest choice. It really kind of opened up what otherwise would have been, a very small, not so open space. The room is painted this beautiful pigeon color by Farrow & Ball. It's one of my favorite colors. And again, we decided to transition it up to the ceiling just to create this kind of really enveloping space. And this is where I come to, relax and feel my most creative self. I'm surrounding myself also with some of my most prized possessions and things I've collected over time. Some of the artwork that really speaks to me are these gorgeous Mark Shaw photographs that have framed, and of course these selenite logs, which I bought in an antique market in Atlanta. That was a fun thing to transport back to New York City. So while this room is primarily neutral, I love throwing in just like a little bit of animal print to set it off. This gorgeous Gustavian settee I found at Brimfield in Massachusetts, which is a very cool antique show. And I've had it for many years and just love this little pop of Scalamandre cheetah on it. Gives it some new life. These gorgeous sconces I found in a store in Paris, and I just tied this little black grosgrain bow on them, and I think that just adds a nice little touch, unexpected touch. And what you're seeing on all of the tables are just items that are meaningful to me, and I think that's most important, especially in your bedroom. So you can kind of, look around the room and you can remember the place where you found it or who gave it to you. I think that just gives us a lot of, joy and, or at least it does for me. So I love this bed. It's a French antique and wrought iron. Oil painting is very special to me. It was done by a New York artist named Nick Weber, and he actually painted this, me sitting on this chaise in the moonlight, which I think is really amazing. And the painting is not about vanity, it's actually about self-transformation. So I get a lot of, it really inspires me every time I look at it. I chose to put my desk as my bedside table, which I think is kind of an interesting thing. I mean, when I'm sitting in bed, I'm oftentimes working, and it's nice to have kind of everything that I need at my fingertips. So I've got my journal, some of my favorite books, and my stationery, and of course, a little bit of incense. Which at the Huntress, we're always clearing the energy of spaces, and it adds a nice, scent to the room. Love the idea of bringing in family heirlooms and giving them new life in your home. So this is a secretary that belonged to one of my great grandmothers, and it lived in my house in New Orleans growing up, and it actually was red. And I remember when I was a kid always going into that room and playing with it and making it like my little desk, and somehow got it up here to New York and gave it new life by giving it a fresh coat of black paint. And I had it also gilded, painted by my decorative painter. And it just houses some of my favorite little belongings, treasures, and it's just a really beautiful piece, and I think it's important to kind of bring pieces like that back to life. This is one of my favorite places on earth. I'm more at peace and I'm feeling more creative than ever whenever I am here, especially in the apartment above the store. I love to bring my family here. I love to entertain here, but it's mainly my respite from my home in New York City. So when the hustle and bustle gets a little bit too overwhelming, I like to escape here and kind of, take that time with myself and my family, and just enjoy the peace and quiet and all the natural beauty that Pound Ridge has to offer. And for this Huntress, the most important room in the house is the bathroom, which is really my sanctuary. And I think all of you mothers with children know what I'm talking about. But, I happen to spend a lot of time here. I really enjoy the ritual of bath. And this tub is just one of my favorites. It's a clawfoot tub that I actually painted in pigeon, which is the same color that we did in the master bedroom. The floor was kind of a really happy happenstance. I was searching in, it might have been Pinterest, and I saw this gorgeous bar floor in Paris, and it had this cool star pattern. And I just happened to Google it, and I found it, and it was something I think that was on Wayfair. And it was really funny because when the contractor got it all here, he was like, "Ma'am, this looks like it's damaged. It's like got rough edges and it's all stained." And I was like, "No, it's supposed to look like that." So I love it because it looks a little bit worn, but it is new. It's a cement floor, and it's really the springboard for this bathroom. So this was not here before when I started this project. We put this bathroom in and paneled all of the walls and ceiling in shiplap, painted it this dark Benjamin Moore wrought iron. And it's very moody and soothing. The perfect place to do the Huntress bath ritual, which is a combination of salts and oil. Really a great place to kind of reconnect with yourself. And of course, we light the Huntress candle and set our intention as part of the ritual. And this is really more about how we utilize our space and, really connecting with ourselves in our external environment. Sometimes I stay in the tub for hours because it is so, nice and cozy in here with these dark walls. And I love the way how it wraps on the ceiling. And yeah, it's just a really calming, soothing bathroom. And, I think that it's a place where we can really come into ourselves and enjoy the ritual of bath, and which is a practice that's near and dear to me. I take 2 baths a day. It's a way for me to center myself. I think creating beautiful bathrooms is really important. A pedestal sink, there's something very vintage and cool and old world about it. I found these sconces that are also like a porcelain vintage sconce from Etsy, which is a great resource. They've got like a little bit of an Art Deco vibe. And I really just like the mix of things. So this, again, is, I think, Serena and Lily. And I love how the natural bamboo texture kind of just adds a lightness and some contrast and brings in a natural texture into the space. So the Huntress is really my passion project. It's a lifestyle brand that I created. It kind of developed over time. So I always say that as we were renovating this building, it was a personal transformation while the building was also undergoing a transformation. And this was my creative space where I really came and kind of got into myself and was able to explore my own creativity outside of my interior design projects, which obviously are for clients. This was something that was a little bit more personal. So again, I was just starting to hunt. The Huntress is a really fun name because it's kind of a play on words. So, we're out hunting beautiful things, antiques. It's also has the archetype of Artemis in Greek mythology. She was the divine huntress. And basically she hunted by standing in her power, by connecting to herself. And when she started to chase things, that's when she lost all of her power. So it's kind of this, I guess, metaphor for when we connect with ourselves, that we can attract and manifest beauty in our lives. And that's really the core, I guess, ethos or undercurrent for the brand. And we've kind of exploited that on so many different levels. So in order to create our dream reality or manifest beauty in our lives, it's about connecting to oneself. And so we do that through a number of different rituals in the home and the way that we treat ourselves. So some of the themes or topics that we focus on here at the Huntress are, tablescaping and bringing beautiful floral into the home. When we're antiquing, really using our inner compass to draw things into our spaces that really speak to our soul. So, I love looking around in a room and being able to kind of feel what's happening in the space. Another thing that we always like to say here is home is a feeling. It's not just about creating beautiful rooms for, beautiful pages in a magazine. It's about creating spaces that we want to be in and, raise our families in and enjoy. And so that's really, I would say, the core of the brand. And it doesn't stop at home furnishings. We believe in what you put on, so we sell clothes and hats and things that make us feel empowered. How that kind of makes us relate to our exterior world is a very interesting concept to explore and one we continue to focus in on here at the store. So now you've seen my living space, and now I'm going to take you down to the shop. I always say that the Huntress is not just a store, but it's really a movement, and we're trying to create an experience for our guests. So everything matters here, whether it's the Huntress playlist that's playing in the background or the smell of Palo Santo when you walk up the stairs, and of course all of the beautiful objects that surround you. It's really sensory overload, and I think that it just gives a new, fresh take on a retail experience. So one of the interesting things about the renovation of this space is this staircase actually didn't exist. The stairs originally were on the sides of the windows, and because we wanted to have beautiful curated window displays, we actually relocated the staircase to the center so you could walk through, and created these little vignettes so that we could have little shadow boxes of window displays for everybody that drives by. One of the main features that drew me to the building were these gorgeous large paned windows that are original to the building. There's very few other features that are intrinsic to this space. But we started with this gorgeous reclaimed wood floor. It's probably my splurge when we came to, what we were going to do to kind of elevate the space, and it just serves as a perfect foundation for this shop. The ceiling detail is also really important to mention. Instead of just having like a drywall ceiling, I thought it would be fun to do these 10 panels, and we did them in a glossy gray finish, and this is actually a custom paint color. And everybody that walks into the building thinks that these were here from the beginning, but they're actually not. Okay, so when lighting a retail space, there's a lot to consider. And, instead of doing traditional hi-hats or, track lighting, which was not my favorite choice, we just ran a conduit on top of this tin ceiling and did these kind of really cool porcelain Edison bulbs that I think are from Home Depot. I always get a lot of compliments on how cool that looks. It gives a little industrial flair to the space. So another important design choice that we made was adding this vintage galvanized sink to the shop with this gorgeous unpolished brass Waterworks Atlas hardware. One of my favorite design details, and really like a functional space for our florist. We actually, sell bouquets here at the shop, and floral is an integral part of the Huntress story, especially this gorgeous blush rose, which if it was a more beautiful day, you would see that we have bushes of beautiful roses that are planted and kind of line the building. This is one of my favorite tables. It's custom designed by me, and it's to kind of represent a reproduction of a farmhouse table, and it's really great because it can be done in a number of different sizes, and it's really made to look old. We decided to do a reclaimed wood, did the top in a reclaimed European white oak, which is really beautiful, and then you can pair it back to a painted leg in any finish of your choice. And so this is a really popular piece here at the Huntress. And I love this table because I always have it pretty much in the front of the shop, highlighting whatever display that we want to kind of focus on. And so what you're seeing here is some of our private label product here at the Huntress, which is focused on ritual in the home and creating our special sanctuaries. So here you'll see an assortment of tea and bath salts and bath oil and our beautiful toile printed journals, which I think are really fun, and they make a great gift. They're actually, it's our Huntress toile, and it has the Huntress herself in the building depicted in this motif, which is very cool. And we love to journal here at the Huntress. And so this is just a really beautiful way to display some of our favorite things. So one of the most important things that we do here at the Huntress is offer a collection of custom upholstery and any fabric that you select from our fabric wall, which I'll be showing you shortly in the back. But again, here's our brown check, which we love. It just has a really fun country feel. It's very appropriate for this area. And a classic English rolled arm sofa, and this wonderful little beige neutral stripe. And of course, pillows galore. We offer a number of pillows and fun fabrics, and also have our own line of custom pillows, which are a partnership that we have with Seft Living. And you can see our alpaca here. This is our Artemis pillow, lumbar pillow, and she's one of our very favorites. But we're always, trying to freshen up the space with new offerings of textiles, and you'll see those, either outfitted in a sofa or maybe even a table linen. So it's really exciting to kind of play with those different designs. Candle lighting is essential to the Huntress spirit. We believe in lighting candles and bringing light into the home. We have our own line of candles, but we also love to pay homage to Curated, who is the oldest candle manufacturer in the world. And so we offer a beautiful assortment of their candles here. Okay, so the Huntress offers a variety of lifestyle elements, including clothing. So this is the Huntress closet, which is just an assortment of some of our favorite vintage pieces and a little bit of lingerie, hats, beautiful dresses. We're always kind of on the hunt for beautiful things, so whatever sparks our attention may end up here in the shop, and it's pretty popular. So this is a little homage to Huntress closet. I also had mentioned that we make our own teas, so we have both our Huntsman and Huntress tea. Ritual in the home is very important to the Huntress, so the practice of sitting down and enjoying a warm cup of tea in one of these beautiful Janori teacups and saucer just creates a really beautiful experience that I think our clientele enjoys. We also offer a wide selection of hotel silver, again, just bringing the past back into the present. I mean, a lot of these come from, hotels in Europe and beyond, and it's really fun to have them have a new life here. So we are constantly on the hunt at the Huntress, and, we do fabulous retreats with our and fellow Huntresses. The most recent one we did at the Chateau du Gans in the south of France, and basically, we're entering little villages and kind of finding the items that find us or we find them and, bring them back here, kind of give them a new place to live, and hopefully somebody feels inspired by them and picks them up. So a lot of the items that you're seeing here are, from our travels. So quite a few stories to tell. Come this way so we can show you a little bit into the spirit of the Huntress. So hats are obviously very important here, and we have a wide assortment of both felt straw hats that I've found designers from all over the world, and we showcase them here in the store. The jumpsuit is made by my friend Donna Ida, who's out of England and out of London, and we actually just did a retreat at her manor house in Devon, which was a really fun hunting opportunity. I always like to say that the jumpsuit is like Huntress 101. And you pair it with the hat, and it just kind of creates a sense of empowerment. It's a lot of fun. So here you can see an assortment of jumpsuits, and we also carry this gorgeous line by Troy, London. So it's kind of equestrian-inspired clothing. So nice assortment of jackets and beautiful haberdashery to kind of complete your look. So we also have a wide variety of vintage rugs here at the Huntress. So this is a beautiful Moroccan style, and if you look throughout the shop, we have a number of these on display. And again, back to our custom upholstery. This is a Huntress favorite. It's our French mattress, Brigitte sofa. It just has this beautiful, detail, and it's one of are best sellers, and obviously can be done with any of the fabrics that are on our fabric wall. So when you come to the Huntress to do like a design consultation, we set you up with a designer, and oftentimes we'll do a visit to your home, and we have a number of resources beyond what you see in the shop to kind of outfit your space. Here is some of the fabrics that we showcase on a number of our pieces, and it's just a really great creative space to work in. So along with our teas, we also offer, a number of pantry items, jams and olive oil and beautiful pasta. These are all just kind of essentials to Huntress living. And then, of course, paired back to some of our beautiful tableware and table linens that we've also sourced from around the world. You're sure to find something that will kind of elevate and inspire you here. So one of the great things about this property is that not only does it have a barn that has been a great space for events and storage and you name it. We have this beautiful garden, which I would love to give you a little sneak peek. It's a little peek at the moment, given the time of year, but if you can just imagine. What makes a house a home is surrounding yourself not only with beautiful objects that give you life and energy, but also, surrounding yourselves with people that you love. It's about connection, just enjoying your space and ritual and, sitting here having beautiful meals and tea parties and just really enjoying yourself and living your best life.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.